Good morning and welcome to the Commission meeting of March 3, 2026. I'll call this meeting to order and will note for the record a quorum of members with Commissioner Karski absent and Commissioner Benninga joining us on the phone. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to silence your cell phones and to sign in the back of the room if you plan on providing public comment today. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, consider a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Kipley,
Aye.
Heisey,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Blyenberg.
Aye. Motion carries. That brings us to the consent agenda. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll move on and ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Heisey,
Aye.
Kipley,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Blyenberg.
Aye. Motion carries. That brings us to regular business. First up, number 8 is to consider a motion to issue a proclamation declaring March 14, 2026 as St. Patrick's Day in Minnehaha County. Mr. Ryan Murphy. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, top of the morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Ryan Murphy with the St. Patrick's Day Planning Committee. Thank you for your time this morning. I just want a quick side note. This proclamation every year, a huge hit. I have attended every St. Patrick's Day that I've been born, and you guys knock it out of the park every time. So hats off to you. It is absolutely a pleasure to do this. So here we go. Without further ado. Proclamation, St. Patrick's Day of Minnehaha County, March 14th, 2026. Whereas we be Irish men and women all this day of national celebration at home in Ireland and in homelands throughout the world. And whereas the joyous unity of St. Patrick's Day reminds us all of our shared heritage and membership in a global family. And whereas today we honor the patron saint of Ireland in his great message of love and peace to one another. And whereas celebrations are in order for an expression of culture and heritage in music, dance, poetry, and games, and a wee bit of green beer raised in a toast. And whereas green silliness abounds as you shed your troubles by the road for a chance of good cheer and a wearing of the green. And then this we proclaim as leprechauns are a-dancing and the joy that is everywhere with luck as your companion. From deep in our hearts, we treasure our strong community spirit and tradition of welcome and care for one another. And thank God for the Irish who gave us St. Pat to bring us together a wearing of the green hat, and then shout and proclaim this 14th day of March as St. Patrick's Day in Minnehaha County, dated this 3rd day of the merry month of March 2026. Signed by all you fine folks, Dino Karski, Jen O'Blyenberg, Gerald O'Benega, Colo Hesse, and Joe O'Kipley Slancha. Thank you so much, everyone. It's going to be a great day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone from the public like to comment? Commission discussion?
This is Commissioner Benning. I don't think I've ever heard a better proclamation in the 15 years I've been around. That's awesome.
I was going to say, can we bring him every week?
Yeah.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Kipley,
Aye.
Heisey,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Blyenberg.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to item number 9. Motion authorize the Commission Administrative Officer to sign owner change order number 4 to reduce the construction contingency. Mr. Tom Greco, good morning.
All right, good morning. Tom Greco, Commission Administrative Officer. As noted in the title, this change order is the fourth one for the Juvenile Justice Center project. It is a reduction in the construction contingency, so this is a good news story. Overall, the project budget is over $2 million below its original $50 million budget, and for which the building was bonded for. Over the course of time, we have utilized contingency funds, either construction or owner contingency funds, to fund some unforeseen items within the project, but also other things that were planned, given the opportunity, like the shell space. What this does is it reduces the construction contingency by a little over $500,000, and the resultant amount will be about 5% of the funds that remain to be billed as of February 12th of this past month. So I would recommend your approval of this change order, and I'll stand by for any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Any public comment on this item? Commission discussion, I could just kick us off by saying this is a great, good news story and kind of out of our hands, so just something to be very thankful for, that things have continued to go so well for this project.
I would make a motion to approve the reduction.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Benega.
Aye.
Kipley.
Aye.
Heisey.
Aye.
Blindberg.
Aye. Motion carries. Up next is the Southeastern Council of Governments Annual Presentation. Ms. Lynn Keller-Forbes.
Good morning. So I'm running this somehow? Okay, will do. I'm going to make this quick. I know that you guys have have some packed things on your agenda today. So the Southeastern Council of Government, of which Minnehaha County is a member, is one of the 6 planning and development districts in the state of South Dakota. We operate under a joint cooperative agreement of the 6 counties and 40 communities that are in those counties. Membership is voluntary. We don't have any taxing authority. For 2025, we had revenues of $3.3 million, approximately, of which our membership dues account for about 11% of that. The majority of our budget comes from running the Southeastern Development Foundation and Dakota Business Finance, which we're going to talk about. So breakdown of the dues, the majority of the dues come from the first-class municipalities, followed by the counties, and then the second and third-class municipalities. I have with me today Sean Heggie, who's my Community Development Manager. This is his team. They do a couple of things, very important. One is that we work with a lot of cities and counties to help finance infrastructure projects within the region. And last year, and I'm looking at this, it's $83 million that we had overall that we helped secure for our dues. 53 million. I need glasses if I'm going to read this far away. So the dues that were paid, they secured grants and loans of $53 million from a variety of federal and state funding sources. So for every dollar that was received, we received $159.51 back in investment on that. If you break that down by county, of that $53 million, majority of it went to Minnehaha County and its cities, $42 million overall. And again, if you look at ROI on that, for every dollar put in by Minnehaha County and its communities in that counties, it's $208.34 comes back. Sean's teams also works with a lot of our communities on land use regulations, helping them do comprehensive plans and zoning. We also serve as a coordinating entity for the Metropolitan Planning Organization, of which several of you serve on the UDC, and those dollars get passed through to the county. In 2025, the county received $55,000 from the MPO. We also run the Southeastern Development Foundation. I have Eric Barnes with me today. This would be his team. He's a senior loan officer and runs our regional revolving loan fund, which does business lending, and he also runs Dakota Business Financing, which does SBA 504 lending. So overall, since its inception, we've done over $60 million in loans. It was created in 2002. Primarily try to focus in these 6 counties, although we can go outside of these counties now as well with some of our dollars. 2025, we did 25 loans. In Minnehaha County, a majority of those were 2.2 million, so majority stayed here with 12 loans out of the 4.1 million that was overall awarded. Some of the fun ones that we participated in last year is the Shenanigans on Phillips was one of our loans. And then we did both an SEDF and DBF loan for the Hartford Pizza Ranch. We also focus on affordable housing. We sell the governor's house for South Dakota Housing. These are built and sponsored by inmates. What you get when you purchase the house is the house, the furnace, the water heater, the cabinets, and delivery to your site. But you still have to get the lot. You have to do the building permit, put in your foundation. If you want to build a garage, floor coverings and appliances, all those kinds of things. So the qualifications are really targeted to those making less than 80% median household income. So if you're a 1 or 2 person family, you can make no more than $71,540 to qualify for this. And if you're 3 or more, it's $81,760. There are also some asset and net worth requirements on it as well. Just to give you kind of an example of some of the ones that we have for sale and how does this work, we also get some Housing Opportunity Fund dollars to help buy down that price. So if there's a house that's, for instance, we have one on Bailey right now, it's $275,000. There's an $11,400 Housing Opportunity Fund grant that comes off of that that's forgiven over 5 years. And so that brings ultimately the price for that brand new home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, full basement, $263,600. So it's really, really a good option for first-time home buyers and those looking to get out of rentals. These are a couple that we've got going on right now. We're doing some work up in the Froelich edition. That's where this one is at. This one is right next door to it as well. We actually were able to pick up a lot and put 3 houses there in a row. This house also was up in that area, or no, this is at Garfield, I'm sorry. We bought a house that was at 1301 North Garfield, tore it down and put these 2 homes there as well. So these are also in Minnehaha County near All City Elementary. We also have what we call recycled homes, where a home would be torn down and we pick it up and relocate it. We took those 4 homes that were on North Minnesota from the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. This is one of them. We moved it to 1323 North Spring. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath for $265,000. There will be income restrictions on that. We also moved this off of Minnesota. It was by the Plasma Center. We moved it kind of down the street a little bit. That's also for sale as well without any income restrictions. We also rehab homes. These are some homes. We bought one in Brandon. And you can see that we've rehabbed that. That is available for sale. And then this is one that's up again in that, this is in the Norton Acres edition. And we bought it, fixed it up, put a garage on it and those kinds of things as well. Overall, what does that mean to Minnehaha County? We talk in terms of sales. So we had 19 sales last year for $5.6 million. Overall, at the end of last year, we had 136 homes sold for just over $30 million. If you just add 2% of that and assume that's what we're getting off property taxes, it would be an annual impact of about $617. Eric also runs Dakota Business Finance, which has a little bit different footprint. We're in Minnesota, Iowa, and South Dakota, plus a little bit in Nebraska. This is primarily for the purchase of land and buildings, large-scale equipment, leasehold improvements, those kinds of things as well. It's been around since 2006. We'll be having our 20-year anniversary party on April 6th at Myrtle's from 4 to 6. Would love to have you join us if you can to celebrate all that we've done in those 20 years. Here's what a typical structure would look like. Bank takes 50% of the financing. SBA will subordinate with 40, and the borrower comes up with 10% down, which is key, especially if it's a really expensive project. I'm just going to talk overall what we did last year. It's kind of a mixture. A majority of our stuff we do in South Dakota, but overall we did 66 loans for $56 million with an average economic or a total economic impact of $154.4 million and 566 total jobs. We have consistently, I have a really good team. We've been the number one CDC since 2009. Last year in South Dakota, we helped 52 businesses secure over $46.37 million. A couple of our projects we did, Country Inn and Suites in Sioux Falls, downtown here. Beds by Design in Sioux Falls here. And then if you haven't been out here and you have little kids, I've heard this is really a good adventure. The old DMV building has been repurposed into the Reptile Adventure Zoo in Sioux Falls. We're located over on Western. You know where our office is. We'd love to have you drop in anytime, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
First, we'll take any public comment on this item. Okay. Commission discussion?
guess I can ask a question, Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes.
Lynn, can you just describe kind of the macroeconomic environment and interest rates and any of the challenges and some of the good work you're doing?
Yeah. Kind of ebbs and flows. Like we'll see a bump in the rates, they'll go down a little bit, and I might put 5 houses under contract, and then I might sit for 2 months and have nothing, and comes back again. Federal Home Loan Bank yesterday released a new program through the member banks here in Sioux Falls where they're buying down the interest rate 1.5 for buyers that are less than 80% median household income. So that means their rate would be 4.875% for 30 years. But that funding is limited, so we want to hurry up and get anybody that we can qualify under it. It's always hard to get people to qualify at the lower income levels, so you're kind of capped on how much can you have those be. If they have any kind of student debt, anything like that, that can really mess with the ratios. But thankfully, parents can co-sign on some of these things if that helps. I've seen some of them do that to get over the hump, but still a really good deal if you can get them kind of into that first time. And we really try to focus more, I would say, on that 350 or less, kind of first time home buyers.
And then one follow-up, Madam Chair, is just can you speak to, since I'm the liaison to your board, so I'm on your CCAG board, I got to hear a little bit at the last board meeting of just the pent-up demand from when we had the federal government closure with budget struggles in Washington, D.C. Has that unwound itself, or can you describe that a little bit? So much of your lending and things has entanglements with federal government agencies, and if they were shut down, they weren't working, and then they have pent up a backlog of cases to get through. Can you describe that and if that's unwound a little bit?
So shutdowns primarily affect Dakota Business Finance because our loans and anything we want to make for changes to previously approved loans to close them has to get approved by SBA. So when they shut down for 43 days, we kind of twiddled our thumbs. We were still trying to push deals and get them ready to go, but there was a pent-up demand when they opened up. I would say loan approvals were probably a week out, I suppose, before the shutdown. They got as high after the shutdown of 20 business days. I think we're down to 15 business days now, so it's just managing those expectations. It didn't help. You'd think a 2-day shutdown, even that, we were told that the SBA takes 3 days to get ready for a shutdown because they have to shut off all their stuff, so it really was more of a 5-day shutdown. Then the holidays didn't help and all those kinds of things. So we're still not where we would like to be. But we're just trying to manage expectations on the front end. We're lucky that we have the Southeastern Development Foundation as a tool in our toolbox because if for some reason the SBA doesn't give us approval when we need it in time to meet a purchase agreement or something like that, we can kind of fill in maybe with SEDF, although we may never close that loan, but at least give them the certainty that something is there so they can move forward with that.
Thank you. Okay, this was an annual presentation, so we can.
Thank you. I appreciate your support.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 11. Consider a motion to approve a joint agreement for combined elections between City of Sioux Falls, Lincoln County, and Minnehaha County. Leah Anderson, good morning.
Good morning. Leah Anderson, Minnehaha County Auditor. Yes, so pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 9/1337, a governing body of a municipality shall in even numbered years hold the general municipal election in conjunction with the June primary or the November general election. The City of Sioux Falls has decided to hold its municipal election in conjunction with the June primary election, and the City of Sioux Falls, Lincoln County, Minnehaha County would like to have the election combined, and therefore we have worked with legal counsel to present you this joint agreement for a combined election. So I'm asking for your approval. Just an update, Lincoln County had it this morning on their agenda. It's already approved. And then City of Sioux Falls will have it on their agenda next week on the 10th.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Commission discussion or motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second with a question, Madam Chair, if I would. Good morning, Leah.
Good morning.
Maybe you could go back a little bit in time and kind of explain the steps it took to get to this. I believe this is a result of some legislation that was passed last year to allow the city council and the school board to put their elections on either the primary or the general election.
You're correct. So it was a bill last year, HB 1130. And so it's I would say on our end, it's been a long work in progress. We started actually working with the state's attorney's office, probably back in June of last year. And so as far as the agreements go, but what that's going to look like is they have the option to either combine or be conjoined. So combined, they'll be on our ballot. Once they get their candidates, get the placement lined up as far as their order of candidates, everything gets turned over to us if they're combining, meaning they fall under our rules and our procedures, and then we take over the election at that point. If they're conjoined, they're just going to hold their election on the same day. And so we're keeping a list of all the different ones that are and what they're doing, and getting agreements. Agreements lined up for each of them. And so you'll be seeing more of these coming forward real soon, so.
And just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. We have a mayoral race and city council races coming up here in June. For those Sioux Falls residents that are south of 57th Street or in Lincoln County, it's still going to be the Lincoln County auditor that's managing their ballots, and they're going to be reporting those results to you.
Well, we're combining all of that, so we're working together. So they will have absentee ballots, we will have absentee ballots, so it's going to be a little bit different, but it'll be a combined effort for reporting, so.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to a motion and a second, correct? Yep, roll call vote, please.
Kipley.
Aye.
Heisey.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Blindberg.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 12, authorize the chair to sign an agreement for audio-visual equipment and installation with Forte for the Juvenile Justice Center. Meredith Jarko, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Meredith Jarko, Assistant Commission Administrative Officer. So before you today is the agreement for audiovisual equipment and installation for the Juvenile Justice Center. So just as a recap, construction of the Juvenile Justice Center is currently in Phase 2. Phase 2 includes the courtroom and the community room and some of those offices. So this agreement is to get those AVI systems set up in the courtroom and community room. In the memo, there's a breakdown of the cost by room and everything that's included in the agreement. We're before you today for this approval because once this agreement is signed, Forte can begin working with Henry Carlson Construction so that they can coordinate the electrical rough-ins and what needs to be where in those two rooms so that when the time comes to install the equipment, everything is squared away. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Anyone from public comment for this item? Commission?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Kipley.
Aye.
Heisey.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Blindberg.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 13, second reading and rezoning number 25-02 to rezone approximately 14.87 acres from the A1 Agricultural District to the C Commercial District. Good morning, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. Scott Anderson, Planning Director. And this is primarily a bookkeeping issue. However, it is a public hearing. It's been scheduled. So you may recall last week we had a presentation and adoption of the ransom plan development. This was, so that development was approved. This was a rezoning that occurred last summer to rezone a part of that ransom development to C Commercial. That had gone through the Planning Commission. It was not well received by the Planning Commission and was recommended for denial. Then that that recommendation and subsequently the applicant reevaluating the proposal led us to a better alternative, which was the plan development, which broadened the scope of that development. It dealt with the existing residents and how that could be transformed over time so it would not be a non-conforming use and a liability to that area. So because the ransom plan development was approved, now renders this rezoning request moot. You will note, or you will see in the information that I provided you, the applicant has withdrawn their request. So at this time, while I did provide you the minutes and a PowerPoint presentation, I would just ask that you acknowledge the applicant's withdrawal of the rezoning request. However, this has been scheduled for a public hearing. So after you've taken testimony, then I would ask that you acknowledge the withdrawal if that is your desire. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. First, we'll move to public comment. Any public comment on this item? Okay, commission discussion? Kind of an interesting process.
I just make a motion that we acknowledge and effectuate the withdrawal.
I'd second that.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Kipley,
Aye.
Heisey,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Blindberg.
Aye. Thank you. And that brings us to the Planning and Parks Annual Presentation. Scott Anderson.
Thank you. It's nice to follow up Southeast of CCOG, Southeast Council of Governments, because we sort of hand in hand work with a lot of the same issues and work with them on a number of transportation issues specifically. So today is my annual presentation. I have prepared a memo, which is on the screen right now and for your review. The memo basically gives you an overview of the activity that's occurred in the planning department. And it's a lot of numbers, and those numbers fluctuate. It's somewhat, well, it is almost always out of our control, those numbers, because it's really development driven. We have no way to drum up building permits or conditional use. It's activity that is occurring in the public. So we've had a lot of really good projects, and I did note in the memo that we had a really good year for construction, and we exceeded our expected revenues for our building permits and our activity. So with that, I will jump into my PowerPoint presentation, which gives you the overview. We all, I think, have a good idea of what planning and zoning does. I appear before this commission regularly, and we deal with conditional use permits and rezonings and plan developments. We also do code enforcement, so you'll see my staff do that as well. So if you could just move this onto the PowerPoint presentation, I will go over that. So planning and zoning, and what I'd like to tell you should go over is some of the things that we have, that we've already completed. We do a lot of building inspections and septic inspections. That number is, for building permit inspections, is well over 1,500. We do septic inspections, and that's about 140, 150 septic inspections a year. As well, we also do code enforcement. And for the public's information and for your information, those code enforcement actions are public driven. We do not go around driving around looking for issues. We have two planners that do code enforcement in addition to their planning activities. So we do not have the staff to drive around and actively be looking for zoning violations. But we do get calls from people that come in or call telling us about problems that they're concerned with, and we deal with those. We've updated our building permit fee schedule. So in January 1st, we have new building permit fees, went up slightly to sort of reflect the cost of living and inflation and such. We worked closely with the highway department last year, and we removed a number of infected emerald ash or ash trees that had emerald ash borers at Wall Lake. We are in the process of planting new trees. Just last week, I partnered with, or I'm partnering with the Girl Scouts, and they're looking at potentially getting some grant money through their contacts. and we would be working together to plant some new trees, so that's on the horizon. Our office has created a portal for online septic applications, so our installers can now fill those out online, and that has streamlined the process. We have finished converting our internal system off of the AS400 into a parcel manager system, and we did that last year. So we're no longer tied to the AS400, which is the attempt of the IT to move the entire county off the AS400. What's very interesting is last year, as you remember, we recently adopted our new comprehensive plan, the Envision 2045 plan. And part of the goals and objectives in that new plan was to better address building eligibility transfers and to create a pathway for people to obtain an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit. And so we adopted those changes to our zoning ordinance last year. And I'll have a slide here shortly that'll show you some interesting statistics that deal with the ADUs, which has been most interesting. We have upgraded our GIS hardware and software, preparing for some new technology that the vendor is rolling out, which will help with our GIS applications online and in the office. So it has been very interesting dealing with or looking at how we have implemented our accessory dwelling units. Really, it was something we really had no expectations on how it would be received by the community, how much activity there would be. But in basically 9 months, this shows you the locations of the accessory dwelling units that we have approved in the county. There's also one that's currently in the process of being presented to the Planning Commission. I think what's really important to note here is that we've had very little pushback from surrounding properties, first of all, and second of all, it has been really a huge benefit to the people that have been obtaining those accessory dwelling units, because it's allowed them to really better deal with sometimes significant family issues that they're dealing with, disabled children that need to live at home longer, elderly parents that need to be closer to their family for care that will, keep them out of congregate living or some kind of other living situation. So I feel it really has been a huge benefit to the county, and so I'm really pleased with how that has turned out. So the next slide will show you, these are the building permits that we've issued for new houses in the county, the new single-family residences. The red stars are new residences. The green stars are replacement, which we track and we provide to the Census Bureau. You may hear on the radio or on TV, that the federal government tracks new housing starts, and that really impacts lots of figures in the world of economics. And so we track this information, we provide it to the Census Bureau and the federal government, and this is just a snapshot of like the new houses that we issued permits for last year. I think what's interesting is if you look at the map, you will know, this is no surprise, but the majority of the activity is occurring closer to Sioux Falls. But there is sporadic development throughout the county, and I think that's a good sign as well, that there continues to be further development all over the county for residences. So the next slide shows you some interesting development highlights. This is the Mapleton Golf Course development. The red star shows you where that was recently adopted. This is on the outskirts of Sioux Falls. It's in our joint area and is a really significant new residential development that's going to be occurring in conjunction with the golf course, which was a planned development, which we also approved recently within the last 2 years. The next slide shows you another development. Let's see, I'm having trouble reading that, but
Builders Electric.
yes, it's an electric. This is at the Renner Corner. So just another major development that's occurred in the county, or a major building project. The next slide is the, let's see, CNR
Properties.
I really should have printed these out because, anyway, this shows you the location of that. It's just a nice new building, new facility, and a relatively large commercial property or undertaking in the county. Another development highlight, the next slide is, if you could read that for me.
EC Custom Properties.
Yes, it's also in that north area between Sioux Falls and Baltic Del Rapids. And I think the last slide shows you the Humboldt sharpshooting indoor range. This was also a conditional use permit that we approved maybe a year and a half ago. It was a large endeavor that is being funded or built because of the need of indoor shooting clubs for youth. It was very interesting. I had no idea that there was that much activity for like indoor shooting clubs and ranges, but this was a new one that was built out by Humboldt, and it's been very interesting. And I guess there is one more. This was a nursery center, a new nursery wholesale center, and I believe this was in the southwest part of the county, out by Wall Lake area. So what's next, or what we're currently working on? We're working on continuing building inspections and septic inspections and code enforcement. We continue to work with general inquiries from the public and explaining the zoning. We continue to be working with ADUs and transfers of building eligibilities. We are we are implementing that now in the Del Rapids zoning jurisdiction. We had implemented it in the Sioux Falls and the county. We're now catching up and doing the Del Rapids area. We are working on some sign regulations with the city of Sioux Falls. We amended our sign ordinance several years ago, and now we are updating the Sioux Falls joint area, the joint zoning area. We are amending our fees for the planning department. These would be fees, not building permit fees. These would be fees like for conditional use permits and temporary use permits and rezonings and variances and so on. We are working with Eagle View. That's our distributor and our provider for our GIS. We will be flying our new aerial photography next month sometime. We like to do that, as we call it, leaf off, which allows us to see more of the ground and the property that with our digital or with our aerial photography. And then we are continuing to use our new parcel manager, and we're updating and organizing past building permit records to get those all online and corrected. There's still a little bit of work that we're doing to get that done. And then this gives you some information on the number of permits that we have approved and the number of rezonings, variances, text amendments. And I won't go over all those: temporary use permits, agricultural permits, preliminary plans, plats. It just gives you some statistics of where we are. It varies, it's up and down, but continued strong showing of those applications coming through our office. And then under code enforcement, the next item gives you the number of complaints that were filed in the county, nuisance complaints and zoning complaints. We get approximately 100 a year. We have about 24 open ones that we are still working with. We closed one yesterday, went out and made sure a junk vehicle was removed from a property, and it had been, so that's now a closed item. But this tells you basically, where we are with code enforcement. As you are aware, as a county commission, code enforcement while we don't have a lot of numbers of code enforcements, it takes a lot of effort. It is a lot of working with property owners to get them to the right place, and often and sometimes that we will need the county commission's assistance, and then we bring them to you to declare them a nuisance, and we then continue to work with them. But by no means is it immediately you get a letter and we're knocking on your door. It is a lot of steps of working with people to get them into compliance. And then the next slide just gives you some ideas of what we're doing next. We're going to be doing some text amendments. We are amending our fees. We are exploring new tracking for building permit inspections and reports. We are getting new aerial. We are working on updating our GIS maps by the end of the year. What's maybe of most interest to several of you on our commission, on the county commission, is we will be looking at researching and preparing some information for the planning commission and the county commission on data centers. It's a hot topic. I really would like to, and I've been working with my commission liaison and other interested people that could probably be helpful on my goal is to bring some education to the planning commission first. We sort of did this with, we've done this before with CAFOs, we've done it before with the pipelines, where we have people, educated sources, come and give a presentation to the planning commission before we get into the nuts and bolts of an ordinance, because I want them to be educated and be able to ask questions without having an ordinance hanging over them, so it doesn't look like we are being reactionary to what's in that ordinance. So if you have some good ideas of people that may be really good resources on educating people or groups of people on what to consider for data centers, just reach out to me, because because it's sort of a new area in the world, data centers and data collection. I'm finding there's not a lot of like specific resources that I can educate my planning commission with. But the next slide is we continue to work with all our municipalities. We work closely with all of our cities, with Sioux Falls and Hartford and Brandon. So that will not change. We continue to work with our townships as well. We work closely with all of our townships for approach permits and land use issues that arise. We always make sure that we notify our townships of significant changes that will be occurring with zoning and land use. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll open up to commission discussion.
I can ask a first question here for you, Scott. So I saw as we're kind of leading into budget season, and so you don't have to have all of your answers yet, but just planting a seed here that you kind of mentioned that there's some variability in building permit revenue, and so we had a bigger than average year in 2025. And then the other side of the ledger there is the costs, and we have one building inspector, to my knowledge. Is that something, have we thought of projecting outwards? Do we need more FTE support for building inspections? Do we feel like the turnaround time, the service we're providing for those fees coming in, are we matching? And are we still at the sweet spot, or do we have to consider more FTE support?
Thank you for that question. It's a very interesting question, and right now you're right. We have one chief building official, and we have been able to make that work. However, there have been occasions where we have not been able to make immediate inspections, and so we ask for like a 48-hour notice so we can arrange those. sometimes where we run into problems or issues is if for some reason my building inspector is gone for an extended period, like maybe a week-long vacation, we end up filling in for him in our office as we're able. So one of my planners is a certified septic installer, so he can go out and look at the septics and do the septics, so we're not holding up that construction, because it's sometimes, well, often when you're putting in a septic system, it has to be put in and then covered, so you don't, because a rain event can mess up your trenching and so on. We are able to do some general footings inspections, but past that, we are not able to do detailed framing inspections or final inspections because the code is quite complicated. So if we have an extended period where where our building official is out of the office, it can be an issue. Is it to the point where we need an additional person? Probably not yet, but as the county continues to grow, that certainly could be a need that we will have to address. The other need that you may want to consider as a county commission is, does the county commission, does the county need to have a full-time code enforcement officer? When people call in with a complaint, and I know my liaison knows this firsthand, if it's not done immediately, sometimes it can be an issue for the person complaining. When you tell them it's going to be maybe 6 weeks, a month to get that junk car off your neighbor's property, they don't like to hear that. They want it done immediately. And so, but part of that is the process, and part of it is we don't have a dedicated full-time code enforcement officer. So that's one thing to also consider.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I didn't ask the question with any preconceived notions, just that when we've got revenue coming in, I know we're updating some of the fees involved. So if we've got revenue coming in, we want to just make sure we're providing the service. But I think your team does a great job providing that service to this point, but just looking ahead, do we project further growth? But it sounds like it's very market driven, and we can have booms and busts as far as the number of building permits that come out each year. So it's hard to project where that greatest area of need is going to be, but just something to consider as we go into budget season and kind of map up your expenses and matching those up.
I will also add that many years ago, 15 or so ago, we at one time had a resource in the county that helped us. So he was a building type official, and he would come in and we would hire him seasonally. So we could hire him. He actually was a school teacher and was and knew all the code and whatnot. Worked with the shop department where they would build houses on site and move them off. And so we were able to hire that person, and he could come in and help us throughout the summer, which was a great benefit. And that's when we had a lot of our activity. And so it worked out really well. I wish I could find another person like that, but I've attempted to find that type of person, and it's been very difficult.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions here. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
I think it's fair to say that some of the development within the unincorporated parts of the county are tied to building eligibilities. We made some changes to the transfer of those building eligibilities. Is some of the development tied to that technical change that we made, and do we expect additional development down the road because of it?
Well, we have, interestingly, we haven't seen as much activity with the change resulting from the change of the ordinance dealing with transfers of building eligibilities. We've had probably 3 or 4 in since we adopted those regulations, which are less than I had probably anticipated. So I would say at this point, the changes that we've made to our building eligibilities really hasn't affected the growth that we're seeing in and around Sioux Falls. Some of that has been the use of building eligibilities that were already on the property, and some of it has been through rezonings and changes in zoning within that joint area, and so that's where we've seen a lot of our growth.
And I know when the county was discussing making these ordinance changes, we had a number of public forums. I think we had one in Hartford, Brandon, and maybe Del Rapids. Correct me if I'm incorrect. And in respect to data centers, you look at the legislature, some of the legislation coming through in respect to that. What's going on in Dual County, the proposed site. What happened recently with Lincoln County Commission, they turned down a moratorium on data centers. And you and I have had several conversations about ordinance and preparation, and kind of taking the similar steps perhaps as Lincoln County as we work to put something together. I know you're at the very beginning stages of it, but do you think it would be wise to, down the road, have some public forums and discussion in respect to the formation of any ordinances for data centers in the county?
Well, some of that's already baked into the process. So when we do amend our zoning ordinance, we have an advertised public hearing before the Planning Commission, and likewise, there's also a advertised public hearing in front of this body. And originally, or the way the process was set up, was that could be the time where people would come in and give testimony, share their thoughts with you on the decision-making process of that ordinance amendment as it deals to data centers. Now, I guess what I will say is I will work with the Planning Commission, and if they feel that they would like to have, a public visioning session where they invite the public in it before, and this would be before the adoption of the zoning ordinance, just to hear the public's issues with data centers or their concerns, that would be up to the Planning Commission. We will probably have that discussion and see if there's a need for that, and then move forward. If they decide to do that, we can hold something.
Excellent, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I just want to comment too that every ADU that has been approved, I think, is just celebrating. So
It is. It's been very good.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That brings us to item number 15, Siouxland Heritage Museum's annual presentation. Bill Huskins.
Commissioner Bleinberg, I apologize for interrupting, but I need to leave to go to my event, unfortunately, so I will be withdrawing my phone call.
Thank you for joining us, Commissioner Benninga.
Yep, thanks.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Hoskins, Director of the Siouxland Heritage Museums. The Siouxland Heritage Museums were created in 1974 through a joint cooperative agreement between Minnehaha County and the city of Sioux Falls. The museum system currently operates 3 buildings: the Old Courthouse Museum, the Pettigrew Homan Museum, and the Irene Hall Museum Resource Center. The museum's operation is all about people and the service to the public. In 2025, we continued to work with individuals, community organizations, and businesses to provide unique learning experiences. Staff presented 559 programs on and off site to just over 29,000 people in 2025. Including visiting 68 K-12 schools across Minnehaha County and the surrounding region. The museums are open to the public, serving the public 7 days a week. Our busiest days of visitation are Saturday, followed closely by Friday, Sunday, and Thursday. Last year, we had visitors from 49 states, every state but Rhode Island, and 26 foreign countries. Daily, the staff cares for over 135,000 historic objects. They are managed through a collections database called Past Perfect, and that database is searchable by the public through the county website online. The staff does research, designs, builds, and installs exhibitions which highlight these artifacts that we have. Cooperative ventures are really the key to the museum's success. We work with individuals, individual donors, volunteers, schools, businesses, community organizations. And really the cooperative spirit, it goes back to the founding of the museum. It was a cooperative venture between the county and the city. 2025 was a year of some challenges and some great accomplishments. Minnehaha County undertook the repair work on the roof of the old courthouse museum, including re-roofing the clock tower. And along the same lines, we accomplished a number of other projects. We conserved the murals in the main stairway that had been damaged by water from the leaking roof. That was achieved through the museum's endowment and private monies there. The Siouxland Heritage Museums Alliance, our 501c3 private nonprofit friends group, paid for new art storage racking at the Irene Hall Museum Resource Center to help store the 400 historic art pieces that we have in the collection. We were also, through the endowment, able to clean and restore 5 more of the 61 stained glass windows at the old courthouse museum. That was also paid for by endowment dollars. So a lot of our special projects are being funded by everything but property tax dollars. The paid staff is supported by a strong force of volunteers. We couldn't do what we do without them. Last year, 137 volunteers contributed 4,612 hours to the museum's operation. We recognize those volunteers during Volunteer Week in April, and there's an annual volunteer appreciation banquet put on by the Museums Alliance that happens this year on April 21st. I'm being brief because there's a lot of layers. But the Siouxland Heritage Museums going forward will continue to build our relationships, cooperative ventures to better serve the public. We've learned over the years that it is the visitor's experience, that is key to growth, great programs, diverse exhibitions. They are what keep the public coming back. The museum is one of the few organizations in county government where all our visitors are completely voluntary. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
Thank you. First, any public comment on this item? Commission discussion? I would just say thank you so much for the work that you do there and for your staff, and the number of volunteers and the energy they contribute is impressive, and I'm glad we finally got that roof done.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to number 16, legislative update. Meredith Jarkow.
Hello, again, Commissioners. Meredith Jarkow, Assistant Commission Administrative Officer. So a couple of legislative updates for you. This week, Thursday, March 5th, is the last day to move required delivery of bills by a committee to the second chamber. And then on Monday, March 9th, that's the last day for a bill to pass both chambers. There will be a short little break to give the governor some time to review all of the bills that will surely be passed in this next week. There's a lot going on at the Capitol. But then Monday, March 30th is reserved for veto consideration in case there's anything that the governor vetoes, that both chambers have a chance to review the bill again and try and pass with a 2/3 majority. So just some dates there to keep in mind. House Bill 1107, which would modify restrictions on lands for certain public purposes, that passed the Senate yesterday, 2013 with 2 excused, if I'm doing my math there correctly. So that passed the Senate. That'll need to be signed by the Speaker and President before it lands on the governor's desk. So still a couple of days probably before it makes it to the governor's desk for final signage. In terms of property tax, there's still a couple of things floating around. There hasn't really been a final reform per se landed on. Senate Bill 96, which is the governor's proposal for the sales tax that a county commission or the voters could impose. That will be heard in House State Affairs tomorrow morning, I believe at 7:45 a.m. House Bill 1253, I've mentioned this before, that is the last assessment-based bill that is still being considered. An amendment has been introduced. It hasn't been moved yet. It will be heard in Senate taxation tomorrow at 10 a.m. The amendment that is introduced, but of course not yet moved, would be for the 2027 assessment year. The value for owner-occupied or non-ag properties would be the lesser of either the fair market value or the assessed value in the prior year increased by 5%. So I've had some conversations with Chris Lilla, our Director of Equalization, and with this amendment, if it were to be approved, the main issue would be that this would look at each property individually. So as it's written currently, that would be a very big lift for our Equalization Department to look at each of these properties individually and decide if it should be the fair market value or if it should be the prior assessed value, the prior year assessed value, and then increased by 5%. The mechanics of that would be very manual versus, say when assessments are for an entire class or that approach. So just the mechanics of that would be very difficult and unrealistic to implement and manage, especially if that's for starting in the 2027 assessment year. So,
Meredith, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Could you tell me that bill number again?
Yes, House Bill 1253.
Thank you.
And so that'll be heard in Senate taxation at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And again, that, just for context, that originally the bill, and as it still stands because that amendment hasn't been adopted, that was the Olympic average assessment bill. So that was taking the past, I think it's 8 years, dropping off the lowest assessment and the highest assessment and then averaging those remaining 6 years. So that was the bill initially. This amendment, if moved, would change that and remove that Olympic average. So since it is a House bill and it's being heard in Senate taxation, if it were to pass out of committee and pass out of the Senate, it would have to go back to the House for approval since the intent of the bill had changed drastically. So again, that's the last kind of amendment, the last assessment bill that's being considered. And I know I've been kind of saying for a while that we're watching for hog houses, we're waiting around. Yesterday, Senate Bill 245, promote the future success and development of South Dakota. In House State Affairs, an amendment was introduced and moved. However, one of the sponsors on the bill asked that the bill be deferred to Wednesday so that the committee members had time to digest the amendment. That amendment would create the Homeowner Property Tax Reduction Fund. And that fund would be would use dollars from sales tax. I think it's 0.3% of the money brought in by certain sales tax categories to fund the fund, and then those dollars would be used for the replacing the local effort for special ed levies on owner-occupied properties. The bill also has a section that 55.6 million from the General Revenue Replacement Fund would be moved into this fund on July 1 of this year, so that the first year it would be funded by those dollars, and then moving forward it would be the applicable percent, as the bill states, of the sales tax dollars that would be deposited each year. So this proposal is similar to other, it kind of has some elements of a lot of different proposals from this session. Using sales tax, replacing certain school levies. So while this, as the amendment sits right now, wouldn't necessarily impact anything that the county does, we're just tracking all of the different property tax proposals, because if, one taxing district in property taxes changes, since we are the stewards of, we bring all that money in and distribute it out for property taxes, even if it's a bill that would change the school district or city, it will impact us in some way, because we're either taking in less dollars, or if we have to somehow help in the distribution of those sales tax. So just keeping an eye on that one. Again, it wouldn't directly impact the counties in terms of our property tax funding. But again, that amendment was moved, and House State Affairs will be hearing the bill again on Wednesday, tomorrow. Those are kind of the big highlights. Happy to answer any questions on any bills that are floating around as best as I can, but I'll stand by.
Thank you, Meredith. Any public comment on this item? Good morning.
Good morning. Leah Anderson, Minnehaha County Auditor. I just want to give you also an update on the bill that I've been diligently working on, SB 171. It's now A. There was a slight amendment. Passed House State Affairs last night, and will be heading, it has to go to concurrence with the Senate because of the amendment, but it will be going to the House floor, and it's been passing very well. So there were no nay votes on that yesterday. And it will have a very positive impact on the way we process our absentee ballots, which will help us increase our timing on producing results. And then the great thing on this bill is just we've been able to work together with other county auditors, or I have, and also those that are concerned about election integrity efforts. So we've been working together on this, and it's been a great experience. So that's all.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Commission discussion on the legislative update. Thank you, Meredith, so much for all your work.
Thanks.
That brings us to an opportunity for public comment. And seeing none, moving on to commission liaison reports. Anybody want to share? Okay. I just would like to briefly mention a few things. On the consent agenda today, we had the Human Services Annual Report, which includes a lot of detail and numbers, but it's definitely worth taking a look at and noteworthy for the public to just see the increasing need and the work that all of the different teams that we have in human services, the work that they're doing in the community. They detail the different community partners that they're working with, and there's just a lot of good work being done. But I also wanted to mention that last week I was out because I was attending the NACO Legislative Conference, the National Association of Counties. So that was in Washington, D.C. It was my first time attending that, and I've been kind of trying to evaluate my participation and making sure that it's beneficial to the county for us to be participating. And so I just kind of wanted to report back. I've been serving on the Justice and Public Safety Policy Steering Committee. We heard 3 policy resolutions. 2 we passed. One was regarding FEMA reimbursement rates for mutual aid. Another was for protecting emergency responders. The third that we tabled was a gun safety bill, and it was tabled in our committee due to a few points, including a request for increased data collection and targeting illegal or untraceable firearms. So that was tabled to be cleaned up a little bit more in our committee. However, it was also heard in the Health Policy Steering Committee and passed there. So it went on to the Board of Directors. I'm not on the Board of Directors. However, we do have a contingency from South Dakota that's on that board. And so when that policy resolution was proposed, it came down to a South Dakota commissioner speaking up with those concerns about things like maybe firearms that are pretty common in our state that could be heirlooms that might not be traceable, and just concerns about data collection. So the intent was good. It was proposed basically around ghost guns being manufactured by 3D printers. So I think the policy sponsor is going to try to rework that a little bit for maybe the July general NACO conference. And then there was also a session on storytelling, and I found a bunch of the materials that NACO offers on their website to kind of just highlight a little bit about that. The idea is that as counties, we don't necessarily do a great job of taking all the complex information that we deal with or that our department heads deal with on a regular basis and distilling it down into an easily digestible format for the public. So I'm taking a stab at it today just to kind of give an example. So we had some news in the highway department this week. And so just while we're thinking about it, maybe it's something we take for granted, but we know that our highway department is continually working to provide safe bridges and roadways for all of us, but they're also working diligently, like many county departments, behind the scenes to make the best possible use of taxpayer dollars and available funding. Recently, we had an increase in the wheel tax. So when I go to register my vehicle, I pay $5 per wheel instead of $4, so that brings it all the way up to $20 annually. The last time we increased that was in the 90s, and construction rates are not at that point at this time, and we probably won't anticipate them going back. So I just wanted to share a few quick facts. Minnehaha County has 195 bridges ranging from 20 feet to 400 feet in length. Road and bridge improvements are primarily funded by wheel taxes and licensing fees. A typical county bridge replacement cost is $800,000, but it can be as much as $10 million, depending on the project. So Jacob Morris, our highway superintendent, maintains a 5-year plan that details which road and bridge projects take priority. That's based on the quality of the structure, the importance of the roadway within our county, and the likelihood of those bridges receiving grant funding. Every year, the state of South Dakota graciously offers assistance to counties for bridges through the Bridge Improvement Grant, and they award roughly $16 million across all counties and cities each year. So on January 2, Highway Superintendent Morris entered 3 bridges in the running for grant funding this year, and after 2 months of waiting, he received notification that 2 of our Minnehaha County bridges have been awarded. One grant will pay for 80% of the cost to replace a bridge located 4 miles west of Garrettson. The total project cost for that is over $546,000. So that's a huge win for the county. The other grant that was awarded will pay for 80% of a structure rehabilitation on Holly Boulevard over the Big Sioux River in Brandon. That total project cost is over $1.7 million. Each project is submitted with a score, and there's several things that contribute to the total score that a project earns. So having that $5 wheel tax that I mentioned is crucial. It earned us 2 extra points. Without those points, we would have missed out on the funding for the grant project by Garrettson. We would have lost it by 1 point. So I'm just taking an opportunity to brag a little bit about some of the work that's being done in the county. I think we continue to do a great job with the resources that are available to us and make the best use of taxpayer dollars. So thank you to the Highway Department and to the state of South Dakota. So that's my liaison report. And that brings us to adjourn. Can I get a motion? No executive session, correct? Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Kipley.
Aye.
Heisey.
Aye.
Blindberg.
Aye. Motion carries. We're adjourned.